What does that mean?
I mean, it's kind of mixture. It's not Buddhism.
Okay.
So it's
Spiritual?
like 40% Buddhism, 30% Taoism, and 30% anything else, anything local.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so it's kind of mixture.
So it's mostly kind of Buddhism. Taoism,
Buddhism.
Taoism is also
Kind of.
related, yes.
Yeah, but not Buddhism.
Yeah. So do you actually believe in any of these? Buddhism
Yeah, I
or
do.
Taoism?
I mean, I do, but it does
You
not
do?
affect my decision, actually.
Sorry, it's a part of a decision. Interesting.
So, yeah.
So what is
my
your
decision.
what is your view with regards to this concept of reincarnation, which I think the Buddhists and the Taoists believe in?
It's kind of my, like, so I told you, someone told me something about fairy tale. I don't, like, so...
You think it's a fairy tale? Or?
I don't think it's like 100% true, but you have to believe it's for some probability. It may be true, but how possible is that?
Yeah.
It's another problem.
On what basis? On what basis do you have any certainty about this concept of reincarnation? On what basis? Definitely not scientific, right? Because the scientists don't even believe in a soul. Do you agree? The scientists don't believe in a soul.
We do believe in soul.
Scientists. I'm not talking about you Buddhists. I'm talking about scientists.
No, depends. There
No.
are lots of scientists.
Oh, I see what you mean. So
Scientists.
what I meant is using empirical evidence.
Yeah.
They don't have empirical evidence for soul.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is it? So these scientists, you know, I know many scientists believe in God. I have no issues with that.
Yeah, I know. No issue.
However, you know, because when I say scientists, because most of the scientific so-called understanding is evidence-based and mostly empirical evidence. So you will not find empirical evidence for souls. Okay. In fact, the Quran itself says that there is very little knowledge God has given us about the ruh, which is the soul. So this is a field in which very few people would have the knowledge of, and even the knowledge they have is it's very little. So
Admit that.
what if there is no reincarnation and what you believe in is false? What then? How will you go about dealing with your afterlife when you have only one life and this is it? No second chances? And then one day we die and that's the end of it. When I say end of it, sorry, it's rather the beginning of a new life. Because as Muslims we believe that we have one life and God is testing us in this one life. And depending on how we are, like whether we are obedient to God or disobedient to Him, God will judge us based on that.
Okay.
So this is only a one shot, yeah, one chance. There's no return ticket,
Okay.
one way flight. So when you die, that's it.
So
And
what
then,
we believe is that,
sorry,
what we believe is
Yeah.
that they're like, you know something about Buddhism, right?
yeah, a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So depends on how well you believe. You will behave this life. You'll become like a dog, a human, or like something better, maybe.
So you believe you might be, not you, but let's say someone who dies
We've heard
because
that.
because they led a bad life. Actually, I was just speaking to that Hindu guy. You were listening, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he believes the same thing. That if your karma is bad, you come back as a dog or a pig, or maybe a untouchable,
kind of,
untouchable
that system,
chandala.
that kind of system.
Or if you're a good person, you come back as a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, or a Vaishya, which is a higher caste. So yeah, this is what they believe. Do you believe something similar?
We told that
Yeah.
like from my childhood, but I don't actually. I mean, you can't disprove it.
I don't need
Never
to.
dis-
Using
you
look,
don't have
let
to.
me ask you something.
Okay.
Do you believe in justice?
Yeah.
Do you think justice? We should be just with everyone.
Yeah.
We should be just with everyone.
Ideology, yes.
Let me ask you something. Do you remember anything from your past life?
No.
No. Then how can you condemn someone from day one of their birth that you are being punished because of your past life? Because you know, I asked another Hindu and he said, okay, what if a baby is born without an arm? He said, oh, it must have done something bad in his previous life. Now the question is, the baby doesn't remember, nor do his parents remember or her parents remember what that child did in his previous life that is born with this disability. Wouldn't that be unfair and unjust for the child to go through his entire life knowing that it was a bad person in his previous life. And that is where the injustice is. Whereas you see, we also believe that as Muslims, that when a child is born with a disability, we say it is from God. But we don't blame the child that it is because of its previous life. We say maybe God is testing either the child or the parents.
I agree with you for this one.
Yeah, so the God can be testing the child, testing his parents, testing even the environment, the society it lives in. And how we deal with that kind of situation. It might be unfortunate, but maybe there is something that we learn from that. Yeah? So this is why we don't blame the child for it.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Nor do we blame God for it. Because you see, God is giving us this life as a test. In fact, there are certain people who have a mental disability. And even that, for that individual, is a test. And for the parents, is a test, for the society is a test. But there's a hadith of the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, that for 3 individuals, the pen has been lifted. That means on the day of judgment, they will not have no accountability. So one of them is this individual who is mentally, deficient. And because you cannot judge a mentally deficient person with the same accountability as a normal individual. Because sometimes these individuals who are mentally deficient, they can't even differentiate between good and bad. How can you then hold them accountable for the things that they have done when they have no faculty of reasoning to do so? See what I mean? So it will be unfair and unjust to blame that individual when they are born like that. However, on the day of judgment, this is one of the individuals for which there will be no accountability, and God will, out of his mercy and forgiveness, will forgive them and enter them into Jannah. The same thing with the children, before puberty, and the same thing with someone who is sleeping. If someone who is sleeping, they can't do any mistakes, can they? Or maybe unconscious. So these people are, the hadith says, I'm paraphrasing here, the pen has been lifted from them. That means they will not be held accountable. But you see, in your perspective, in your ideology of reincarnation, you always blame the individual for the past life, isn't it? And when no one remembers what they did in the past life, it is basically like putting you in prison and not telling you the reason you're being punished. You will remain in prison in a state which is which will make you mentally disabled. Yes, to such a state where you'll have depression and anxiety, and obviously you'll have this hatred for the law, because they said that you deserve to be in prison, but we aren't going to give you the reason. And unfortunately today we see such cases like in Gaza, where they imprison people, imprison doctors, imprison even children, and they don't tell them the reason why they're imprisoned. Just we have suspicion, or you're dealing with a terrorist. That's all. That's just a claim from their side without any evidence. And we have other people who have been imprisoned, unfortunately, without any cause. So this is what we are trying to say, that for an individual, to maintain and retain their sanity, you have to be told the reason why you're punished. And if you're not, then that system is unjust. Do you agree? Yeah. And that is the reason we as Muslims, we believe that this life, which gives you one chance, and some people, they live like 70, 80, even 100 years, I think is more than enough to come to an understanding as to why we are created. If I were to ask you, what is the reason of your existence? What is the purpose of your existence? What would you say?
I need a reason.
Sorry?
Some other reason, actually.
I didn't get that. You need to speak up. You didn't think about it?
Yeah, no, it's not a problem for me.
No. What is the purpose of your life? It's a valid question.
Yeah, it's a valid question, but for me,
so what's the purpose?
Is meaningless, so.
Say again?
For me, life is meaningless. So.
Life is meaningless. Oh my God, this guy is a nihilist. Are you seriously a nihilist? No way. You can't be a Buddhist if you're a nihilist.
Yeah, so.
Nor a Taoist.
That's my culture.
Nor a Taoist.
That's my culture.
No, but seriously, look, your shoes have a purpose. Yes? Your shoes has a purpose. You don't have a purpose. Think about it.
We created them.
I know you did, but for a purpose.
We created them.
I know you did, but the question is for a purpose. Everything you're wearing, yes, your eyes has a purpose. You didn't create your eye, did you? Your eye has a purpose. Your nose has a purpose. Do you as an individual not have a purpose?
There's a lot of organs. There's a lot of body parts. that don't serve a purpose.
Sorry?
There's actually lots of body parts that doesn't serve a purpose.
Yeah, which body part of yours doesn't have a purpose? Don't tell me appendix because it does have a purpose.
No thyroid.
Huh?
No thyroid.
Your thyroid doesn't have a purpose, seriously.
No, thyroid has a purpose.
Exactly. So?
But there's a nerve running down the thyroid back here. And the path does not serve a purpose at all. It's just a bad design.
Okay. I don't know. What is the nerve called? Oh, interesting.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't know the English. But
So, no. He said there is a nerve that goes here, which doesn't serve a purpose. Are you speculating or you know this?
I know this.
You know this. So if the doctor cuts that nerve, will you be alive?
I mean, you can be alive if you like lots of nerves like cut.
No, I'm talking about that nerve. You said it doesn't have a purpose. So if they cut that nerve of yours, will you still be alive?
No, that's not what I mean.
See what I mean?
The nerves serve the purpose.
If it doesn't have a purpose, then if you cut it, it shouldn't be bothering you, should you? But the reason you have it, surely it has a purpose.
Okay, so
You know, before they used to say the appendix didn't have a purpose, right? At one point, they said appendix doesn't have a purpose. Now they found the purpose of it.
Hashim, I thought you were going to say the appendix.
I know, I thought as
That's what I
well.
was waiting for.
Yes, I was waiting for
I thought you were
that.
going to say the most useless organ is the appendix.
Appendix.
That's what I thought.
appendix. No, appendix is useful.
Yeah.
Appendix is useful. Actually.
Alhamdulillah. Because before they used to say it wasn't. Probably 10, 20 years ago, they used to say it didn't serve a purpose. It is an appendage or a remnant from the time we were monkeys or something. I don't know what. Maybe something else. I don't know. So it's an evolutionary appendage. Anyway, look. Every part of your body, trust me, has a purpose. Yes? You know, even the pain you have, there's a purpose for that.
That's true.
You see what I mean? So even though something which is not really tangible, but it's the pain, you know, imagine your teeth didn't have pain and one day it fell off. You wouldn't even realize that it fell off because it didn't pain you. Because you see, before it rots, before it becomes bad, it gives you signals. Your body is giving you signals something is wrong there. Get it sorted from your dentist. So that serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Yes? And do you see everything in your body, the way it's been organized, the way it functions? It is beautiful. Do you think it just came about by chance one day?
I don't know.
Are you Googling what doesn't have purpose? No, go on, do it.
I want to,
Ask
like-
ChatGPT, no problem.
No. I wish to show you a book.
Yeah. So as Muslims, we believe that not only we, but every part of our body is there for a reason, and everyone in the society plays a role. But if I were to ask anyone and they tell me I don't have a purpose, then I think they are already lost. Because anyway, nihilism is not a way of life. It is basic. That's the reason many of them, unfortunately, not talking about you, many of them, unfortunately, they have no purpose. Some of them say, look, I killed myself, I have no purpose. I'm only atoms and molecules. So what purpose do I serve? They have no objective in life, many of them, unfortunately, and it puts them in a very dangerous position. So we pray and we hope that Allah guides you and gives you a purpose. As Muslims, we believe our purpose is to serve God. What does that mean? Yes, it means that we obey Allah and we do whatever He has commanded us to do, because what He commanded us is good for you. What He has forbidden you is bad for you. For example, there are certain things which are haram in Islam, like gambling, alcohol, fornication, adultery, telling lies, murdering people. All of these things are bad. So Allah has forbidden this. But the thing is, as individuals, we know the good and the bad in our life, and we take precautions accordingly. But if you say your own existence serves no purpose, then everything that you think has a purpose should be irrelevant, because if you yourself have no purpose, what is the point of existence as well for you? What is it you're looking for?
I mean, there's a book discussion about some irrational design of human body.
Say again?
Irrational design of human body.
The rational?
Irrational.
Irrational? Irrational what?
There's lots of design that's like irrational human body actually.
No, I don't think there's anything irrational. That's why you can't point anything in your body that is irrational.
Okay, let's don't say irrational. Let's say cause problem. Cause lots of problems.
Look, everyone's got problems in their life, so what? Doesn't make it irrational. Your life will have ups and downs.
Yeah?
Like, when you look on, is it ECG, the machine? It has
Okay, so
it has ups and downs. Imagine if the ECG machine goes flat. What does that mean?
It's not connected.
Either it's not connected or you're dead.
even if it's like if an ECG machine is not connected, it also goes up and down. If an
What is
ECG
what is it
machine
what is it
not
measuring?
connected,
What is it measuring?
it's measuring the environment.
Exactly. So if it's measuring environment, maybe there's ups and downs in the environment, the energy levels, no problem. But you see, when it's connected to your heart, yeah, and if it goes flat, then you are clearly not alive anymore. So expect ups and downs in your life, because that is exactly what we are looking for. If we have a purpose in life, then you will have ups and downs. Yeah, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, sometimes you have problems, sometimes you solve the problems. You know, we should be optimistic, because like in English there's a saying, every cloud has a silver lining. Yes, and also in Islam we say after hardship there is ease. After hardship there is ease, and this is one of the ayahs in the Quran. That the Quran also tells us this. So don't expect your entire life to be hardship, or don't expect goodness all your life. You will definitely have ups and downs. Even the prophets, they had ups and downs in their life. Yes, for example, Prophet, peace be upon him, peace and blessing be upon him, Prophet Muhammad, his children died. Most of his children died. Only one daughter survived him. The rest of his children, they all died. Some of them in childbirth, some of them very young. Yes, so this is when a child dies, for a parent that is the biggest calamity for them. It's a huge calamity. So what we are saying is that try to find a purpose in life, and then look at the possibility of an afterlife where it will be eternal and there's no return from it. And if that is the case, then the question you should ask yourself is, what have I done? What have I done in this life that will help me in the afterlife, which is eternal? Because if you have disobeyed God, then there will be punishment and there will be consequences for this. And if you have done good, then there will be reward and bliss for an everlasting life. Logically, which one will you pick? Would you want to have a blissful life or a life full of damnation? Which one will you pick?
Look at our choice.
Based on your logic, tell me which one would you prefer? A life of hardship or a life of bliss?
Everybody wants a life of bliss.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sometimes you need some.
Sorry, say again. Don't give me a butt, please.
Sometimes you need some hardship.
No one will choose hardship. When they have an option between hardship and goodness, they will all choose goodness. No one will choose hardship, trust me.
Hardship is bliss.
Well, give me an example in your life where you had a choice between hardship and good life, and you chose hardship.
You can't. I mean,
sometimes, look.
There's no clear line between
Yeah.
hardship.
Actually, I can give you one example.
Depends on the reward.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes, I choose hardship. For example, if I could drive to some place easily, or I could walk there. I prefer sometimes to walk.
Yeah.
Yes? Because I see benefit in that than just driving.
Yeah.
It is kind of harder compared to me driving, but this is not the kind of hardship and bliss.
bliss.
I'm talking about eternal hardship and eternal bliss. Yeah? No one, trust me, look, I don't care what you think, no one in their right mind will choose eternal hardship. No one. Either there's something wrong with them mentally, or they're not thinking it through. But that's what I'm saying. If you were given the option in this life where you live for 70, 80, 100 years, and yet you do not decide that to make a meaningful life which will benefit you in the afterlife, then on the day of judgment, we believe in a day of judgment when God is going to judge us all based on the life that we led in this world. So on that day, you will have no one to blame but yourself. Do you agree? If you choose a life of disobedience to God, then on that day of judgment, you will have no one to blame but yourself. If God judges you to have the eternal damnation. And this is not something I'm telling you to scare you, because for you to learn something which is beneficial for you, it is not based on to scare you. For example, if you drive, you follow the laws. Yes, the traffic laws, I hope so. Now, for you to understand and to abide by the traffic laws, you have to learn it first, right? Doesn't matter how hard it is. to memorize certain things and because they take a test. Yes, I'm sure they take a test in Taiwan as well for you before you can drive. And they ask you, here you have a theory, we have to memorize certain things. They'll ask you maybe multiple questions, multiple question answers. And you have to make sure that you tick the right boxes, otherwise you fail the theory. If you fail the theory, you can't take the practical either. So for the practical tests also you have to learn how to drive. In both cases you have to learn. So you have to put yourself through certain hardship to make sure that you pass the test. Similarly, this world, I said this life you have is a test and you have to learn certain things. What is that you have to learn? Because when God created you, He did not just leave you in this world unguided. He gave you guidance through the Quran. The Quran is your guidance and it tells you what is the right way and what are the ways which will lead you to damnation. And those are the things which Allah has made haram. Haram are the things which are forbidden.
Okay.
Yeah? So, do you think certain things should be forbidden in life?
I don't.
What should be forbidden?
Cigarettes also.
Cigarettes? Okay, that's good actually, yeah, not bad. What else? Drugs?
Of course, like,
Okay.
For my perspective, it should be forbidden. Yeah, but I believe in everybody should be healthy.
Should be happy.
Should be healthy and happy.
But taking drugs is not healthy.
Yeah, so
It can make them happy temporarily, certain drugs,
Yeah, so
but it's a temporary, but it also harms them really badly. You can ask the doctor here.
Actually.
Drugs are very bad for you. Drugs are very bad for you, isn't it? Drugs, taking drugs, yeah. Not the drugs he prescribes, yeah?
prescribe them,
Yeah, exactly. I already read your mind because you're one of those guys who looks for loopholes. Okay. So yeah, unless the doctor prescribes it, yeah, a legal one.
Legal ones, okay. Legal ones, okay.
Not a quack. So unless they
And for
prescribe,
medical use, it's okay.
yeah. So
Yeah,
even
also.
look, even the medical use drugs, certain they tell you what the downsides are.
Yeah.
They tell you the side effects of certain drugs, and this is also they don't just prescribe to you
Okay,
like
well, I
that.
have a question.
Yeah.
So, for me, there's haram because there's some purpose. Like for me, the purpose, like everybody should be healthy, and should be happy.
Okay.
And like for Muslim, do God have a purpose, or there's haram for no reason?
No, haram is not for no reason. Okay, I'll list a few haram things. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Certain
Most of
things.
them, I agree.
Okay, so
Okay.
alcohol, drugs, we already mentioned.
Yeah.
Telling lies.
Yeah, agree.
Yes. Murder.
Partially agree.
Murder.
White lies.
We'll come to the exceptions later.
White lies,
I'm
okay.
talking about generally.
Yeah.
Okay, murder.
Murder. Agree.
Fornication.
Sorry, what's that?
Fornication. Having sex outside marriage.
Okay.
Okay, extramarital sex.
Okay.
What about adultery?
In my country,
Adultery.
adoption.
Adultery. Adultery is where if you're married and you have sex with someone you're not married to.
Okay.
That's called adultery. Yes? So again, extramarital affairs and so on. Okay, anyway, if these things agree with you that they should be forbidden, then that is what haram is basically.
I'm really curious about the pork thing.
About the what? About the pork.
The pork, yeah.
Yeah, so there are certain dietary requirements we have. For example, not only pork, by the way, we can't eat like carnivorous animals either, or those birds which have talons.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are talking about a lot of dietary requirements, not just pork, by the way.
Yeah, I see.
So yes,
So what's for those
like dogs, for example, we can't eat dogs.
dogs? Yeah, I
Yeah.
see. We don't eat
I
dogs.
don't know about Taiwan. Do they eat dogs there?
No, we don't.
They
eat
don't. Good thing, yeah. So yeah, I think this is something. Again, we have a lot of dietary requirements, but again, it's like I said. Look, it's not something that people will desire to eat. Many people,
I know, but-
out of their own. But the whole idea of obedience and disobedience is such that we obey what Allah has told us, and that is the main thing. Because He has created us, He knows the reasons better than any of us. Yeah. So, for example, pork. There's a lot of like tapeworms and all, which can get in your system from the pork. Yes. Even sometimes it's well cooked and all that. And there's a lot of things which have been medically proven that these are the reasons that people shouldn't eat it. But like I said, for us the main reason is Allah has forbidden it. He's made it haram, and that is sufficient for us. So now, from most, by the way, the other thing I didn't mention is gambling. Do you think gambling should be forbidden?
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, there you go. So most of the haram things you agree with, and this is what a logical individual would actually say that. So if most of the harams are, what is that that's remaining now? That's halal. So that's something that's, yes. By the way, we also have rules with regards to the dietary laws, like I said. Then we have certain things which are obligatory. Yes. For example, belief in the oneness of God without associating any partners with Him, which is called the Shahada. Then we have the prayers, the 5 daily prayers, called the Salah. Then we have Zakat. We have to pay 2.5% of our savings, yes, every year. And this is for the people, obviously, beyond a certain threshold. Like if they have more than, say, roughly $500, then they have to give to the poor and the needy people. That's the third pillar. The fourth pillar is fasting in the month of Ramadan. Yes. So even though all the food, which is halal for us, we can't have during that time of fasting. Yes. And that is from the obedience to Allah as well. And finally, we have to perform Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, once at least in your lifetime, provided you're fit and you can afford it. Right? Yeah. And these are the 5 pillars which are obligatory for us to do. Now, do you find any contention in that?
No? I mean, it's actually good, but my concern is that the world is ever changing.
The world,
The world is ever changing.
Yeah.
And you have
the haram remains the haram.
yeah.
The halal remains the halal. The obligations remain obligation. For the last 1400 years, until the day of judgment, it's the same. Doesn't matter how much the world changes, the society changes. These are universal laws.
I mean, the pork one is not universal for example.
Yeah, I mean, can you live without eating pork?
Yeah, you can.
There you go. So if you can, then what's the point? Certain people, I don't know, you might not be a vegan or a vegetarian. Many people will consider it to be bad to be eating meat.
Yeah.
Yes? So this kind of subjective understanding of what is right and what is wrong will always be there in society.
Yeah.
Because like you said, society changes. The laws change. Because at one point, homosexuality was forbidden and punishable by law as well. Today it's accepted.
Anymore, I wonder.
No, I'm talking about the law in the country. This is a non-Muslim country in UK.
Yeah, so
100 years ago, even though in a non-Muslim country, it was forbidden. But today it's accepted and a norm. So that's why I'm saying societies will always change, the laws will always change. But the good thing about religion and its laws, in particular about Islam, because we have the final revelation called the Quran, and we have the final messenger whose name is Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. So what final means that there's going to be no more revelation and no more prophets and messengers after him. And that's the reason we know that this is now fixed. See what I mean? So no one who calls themselves a Muslim can change these laws, which are now universal laws and for all time.
Okay.
Yeah? But the thing about when you say that what is good and bad, do you think good and bad are subjective?
Yeah, it's always subjective.
Okay, so who decides who is right and who is wrong?
Yeah.
Should a vegan decide or should a omnivore like us decide? Who's going to decide what should be the dietary laws?
Yeah, I get the point. So
Yeah.
for you, who decide?
No, for me, my God decides. I don't decide.
Okay.
Yeah? So
your God decide and
even though I am an omnivore, I can't eat haram.
Yeah.
Very simple. You see what I mean? So even though certain people would like to drink alcohol, for me, my religion, my God says it's haram. So I stop over there. I don't ask what are the benefits, what is the entertainment value, how it makes me feel. Forget all that. It's irrelevant. Because for me, haram is haram. What Allah says is the best guide. He's the best guidance. Yes, and the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, is the best of the guides as well. Okay? Now, for you as someone who might not believe in God, it will always be problematic because you'll have to make compromises.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on which society you live in, depending on which country, which laws you are under, you'll have to make compromises. Yeah, because like for example in India, they are banned eating beef, especially of that of cow. Even though it's a secular country, they have made it a law that anyone who actually kills a cow for consumption, then they will be punished by the law. In a secular country, can you imagine? So they can change the laws. Yeah, tomorrow, even though India is the biggest exporter of beef, Yes, mainly buffalo, I know. But still, it's a way. I mean, what's the difference between one life and another life? You want to save one life, but then kill the other. Yeah, it makes no sense. So when it's arbitrary like this, then you'll always find flaws in that. But you see, when God gives you a law, then you'll find not only purpose and meaning, but also rational and logic within that. And that is what I'm telling you, my friend. When you're going to live based on how the society lives, then your life will be purposeless, meaningless, and your morality will always be subjective. So what is good for one person might be bad for another person. Yeah? I'll give you another example. What do you think about abortion?
Abortion.
Should a mother have the right to abort her child?
I support.
You support it? Why? Why do you support abortion?
I mean, it's kind of what your priority is.
Sorry, say again?
It's kind of what your priority is.
Whose priority?
So for me,
No, whose priority?
the mother.
Why should she be the one to make that decision?
It's only my belief. So
Yeah, of course. That's what I want.
So for a baby,
Yeah.
at least for most countries, the baby, not actually a baby, a fetus, before the.
I like the way you changed the name to fetus.
the fetus.
Did you see how we did that? How quickly you went from baby to fetus? Because fetus shows you that it is not something connected to an individual, which is a person. But when you say fetus, you kind of desensitize yourself by using this so-called acronym. Not an acronym, sorry, a euphemism in a way, because fetus impersonalized immediately for you. So it's very easy to say, let's kill it now. Same thing like, the IOF is doing in Gaza. They call them animals. When you call humans animals, it's very easy to justify killing them.
I see.
And that is exactly what many of these so-called oppressors and dictators did during history.
I agree with you.
Yes? Whereas what does Islam say? That to kill one person, it is as if you have killed the whole of mankind. And to save one person is as if you have saved the whole of mankind. That is a principle which is found in the Quran in chapter 5, verse 32. So we go by that principle. We don't just say, oh, it is a fetus, so let's kill it. If the mother has a right to dictate whether the child lives or not, and I'm going to use the term child. You know why? I'm going to use the term baby as well. When you were in the womb of your mother, guess what she called you? It's just background noise, just forget. When you were in your mother's womb, what did she call you? A fetus or my baby?
Baby.
My baby. Not just baby,
So that's not
my baby. Personalized it. She loves it. Even before she saw you, even before you were having hands and feet, she immediately knew as soon as she was pregnant, she started to call my baby. And so did your dad, I'm pretty sure, and so did other members of the family. You know why? Because that shows the real humanity and the love for a life form, which has potential life, even though it not have the capacity to think or to cry or to speak. It has a heart that is beating from before even the limbs form. You might have to correct me on this. The limbs, do they form after or before the heart beats?
No, the heart beats first.
There you go. So I was right about it. So you see the beating heart, that is a sign of life. Do you agree? You still call it fetus?
Yeah, fetus.
Yeah?
Still call it fetus.
Yeah. So
You
if
couldn't
I'm...
still converting after all of this? Haven't you been converted?
No, not really. Sorry about that.
We leave it to Allah for conversion. Our duty here is to convey the message. So
Believe that thing this guy says.
anyway, just ignore him. The guy's a
It's
troll.
all nonsense.
He's a troll. Yeah.
It's a
So
nonsense.
what I'm saying, that's why you were listening here.
Shaitan.
Did you see how he was listening earlier?
It's just a discussion.
He is
so-
shaitan. Do you know what shaitan is?
Yeah. He looks like you, I think.
Sorry.
Okay, so a fetus is dehumanizing, and that's the reason many people use this term fetus. Okay? But your mother most likely called you my baby. But have you ever seen how the abortion takes place? I suggest you don't. If you haven't seen it, don't do it. And if you have seen it, then you should know how inhumane it is. Yeah?
Now we have videos of babies in the womb opening their mouth, screaming. They scream. Like, you can't see it. There's ultrasounds that you can do. The baby screams while he's being pulled out.
I don't even want to picture that. But you see, this is what you felt when you saw it. Did you feel disgusted?
It's still bad, but sometimes
Just bad?
it causes another problem.
You just felt bad, not disgusted?
It's a necessary evil to me.
Unnecessary evil to kill an unborn child, to kill a baby. Why is it necessary? Tell me. Whose fault was it? Let's start with that. Whose fault was it that made it unnecessary?
Okay, so
Because now the fetus, you're calling it, is unnecessary, so just remove it and chuck it out. Whose fault was it to start with? Was it the child's fault? Or was it the fault of the parents? You know, it takes two to tango.
yeah.
So you can't blame the child for its development because that is a natural process. So whom do you blame for it initially? You should blame the people who brought it into the world. Yeah? In this case, the parents. Now it is their accountability and their responsibility to take care of it. But to destroy it is their accountability as well.
Okay, I see.
The accountability falls on them too.
I see. Ideally, the
Yeah.
parents should have responsibility. But what if the parents don't take the responsibility? Is it the best for the child comes into their life? Or it is better to take abortion? And
Sorry, say what? The child what? The child will not have a better life? Give it for adoption. There are many ways. There are many people who would love to have a child in their life. They pray to God every day. Yeah, they worship some statue every day. They beg doctors to impregnate them. They will do anything. They will throw millions at you. There are lots of people, trust me, who want children.
Sure.
Okay, so there are options to adopt, to give the child for adoption. I don't think the only way out is to murder the child, which you call fetus, unfortunately, as to dehumanize it.
Sorry, sometimes in my country, adoption.
You know, most of the abortions, they take place because of the irresponsibility of the parents. And most of the time it's an unplanned pregnancy. And if you look at all the factors, not a single fault is that of a child. The only thing in which Islam permits abortions in exceptional cases, like for example, maybe it puts the mother's life in danger, or perhaps there is a case of a rape, for example, unfortunately, because it might.
So you accept that?
No, I'm saying there are certain exceptions. But if you look at 90% or 95 or even more percentage of the abortions that take place is unplanned pregnancy. It's not because of these exceptions rule. The exceptions are very few. Yeah? So that is the reason I'm saying this is something which is one of the greatest immoral legal things which happen in most countries.
Okay.
The greatest immorality. And the only thing which has been made legalized is abortion, unfortunately. So that is the reason I'm saying, my friend, when you have laws coming from God, you won't find people aborting. You know, there are millions which are aborted every year. Millions, literally. Yeah? But that's what I'm saying. It's a very unfortunate case. And if it is left to us human beings, then we will be even okay to kill unborn children. And that is exactly what we see today in an ungodly world where people don't care about accountability in the hereafter. You know, it is like basically having no traffic laws and you let everyone pass through. Yeah, you'll have chaos on the streets, isn't it? And that's exactly what we need. We need organized religions, and especially the true religion, which gives you a purpose and a method of guidance in this world. And I don't mean like someone who is a Muslim, they only, when Allah says, you know, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that Allah has created you to worship Him. The jinn and the insan, which is another creature who has free will. We have created you for this purpose. But what does it mean? What does worship mean? Worship means, like for example, conveying the message to you of goodness of the Quran and Sunnah, conveying something good to another person, helping your neighbor, for example, yeah, moving something which is hindering the road or hindering the path, moving some thorns from the way. All of this is considered worship. Worship means obedience to God. What He has told you, to propagate it, and what He has forbidden you, to stop people from doing that and advising them not to do that. And that is what worship means. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that look into Islam, try to study it. I know it's a lot of things to unpack, but give it a shot and see if it gives you more purpose in your life, hopefully, and meaningful. But we don't live morals based on our whims and desires, because if that was the case, then it'll be chaos everywhere. Most of the time, it's subjective, and I think that is also problematic. So we leave it to the one who created us to give us more objective morals, which we can all, reflect upon and think and ponder on it, inshallah. Anyway, very nice speaking to you. Thank you very much for your patience. What's your name? Eon, yeah, you told me, sorry. Jazakallah khair, no problem. And may Allah, we pray that Almighty guide you and me to the true path, to the right path, and have a meaningful life, hopefully. Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much. You take care. All the best.
Most of the points, I agree with you, actually.
I know you do. But there is a lot to unpack. Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah. Barakallah feekum, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allah gave me that. How are you doing, Afi? All right?
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah.